Hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. The great U-Roy, aka the Originator, is among the most pivotal figures in modern music. He single-handedly transformed the sound system DJ from simply a jive-talking announcer to a performer as important as a singer, inadvertently creating the subgenre that we know today as Dancehall. The father of all DJs, his technique, timing, lyricism and swagger made him the archetype that everyone else would build on since his debut towards the end of the 1960s. Not to mention him being the first toaster to record a full album of his own. But despite all the successful records, fame and money, his most prized achievement and the one closest to his heart was his sound system, Sturggab. Being the sage and inspiration of the whole industry, he envisioned it as an institution that would be like an academy or university for aspiring toasters, a cutting-edge cultural powerhouse that eventually would become one, if not the very greatest in Jamaica. A really tall order, as that island had since the 1950s boasted of a super vibrant sound system clash culture, and by the late 70s, when he started, had literal juggernauts like Stereophonic and Ray Symbolic ruling the streets. But deploying his resources, star power, and fanatical following as the very high priest of toasting, he launched his own outfit that quickly became a dominant force that soon attracted the hottest new microphone magicians in the land, and even established sound system stars, packing venues across the whole island and building an unprecedented following in what was record time, but in what can only be described as a macabre, brutal and terrible turn of events. U-Roy's pet project was sabotaged and systematically dismantled in a ferocious attack by shadowy figures, all looking to undo it, what it represented, and most especially to teach U-Roy a lesson of a lifetime. But what was the whole story? Let's take a look at how and why U-Roy's legendary sound system was targeted and destroyed at the very dawn of the 80s. The birth of that outfit had its origins in U-Roy's exit from King Tubby's hometown hi-fi sound system that operated in the Waterhouse area of Kingston, where he had become a street legend and household name. He joined King Tubby in the mid to late 1960s, up into the mid 1970s, when spiraling chaos and unrest saw Tubby's precious state-of-the-art equipment get shot up and destroyed by the police in a raid to capture some gang members who were partying at a show he was playing at. King Tubby was never compensated for the loss and was so demoralized that for a while he would abandon the sound system and focus on running his new studio at Dromeli Avenue. This abrupt end to his run as chief DJ at Tubby's hometown hi-fi would inspire him to establish his own in 1977, which he named King Sturgav Hi-Fi. The name was an abbreviation of his name and that of his two sons. The ST was taken from his son's name Stuart, UR, initials for U-Roy, and Gav from his other son's name that was Gavin. He planned to make it something entirely different from all the leading outfits that were all the rave in those times, that were just businesses. But in his mind, he planned to make it a community-based affair. He wanted it to be an academy of sorts that would produce the finest DJs that would dominate the next generation, and a sanctuary for quality heavyweight roots reggae. And as right-hand man to King Tubby, he would of course deploy the most advanced and sharpest equipment that money could buy. But hardware can only go so far. The human resources and personalities he would deploy left everyone breathless. Let's not even talk about his elite superstar selectors in the mercurial jazz crew that in later years became an amazing producer that pushed Barrington Levy and Barry Brown into international acclaim, ably supported by the unrivaled wickedest of all selectors in Inspector Willie, who is hailed as being among the greatest selectors in sound system history. At the beginning, U-Roy of course was the main DJ, and being who he was, the audiences flocked to his dances in massive numbers, filling all venues to capacity. After what was an explosive start, an entire new crop of red-hot young guns began to flock to King Sturgav to get the mentorship and to pitch their tent with what U-Roy was building. One of the very first of these cats was a guy called Robert Russell, but became known by the stage name of Brigadier Jerry, who was soon followed by Rag King Joe, both lyrical heavy hitters that eventually became legends in their own rights. Due to his already mythical status, the hottest producers in the land were practically lining up to supply U-Roy's new outfit with the newest instrumentals, tracks and dub plates from their studios to test their quality with audiences at the dances. And the sum total of all these awesome features was a super sound system that would leave all rivals in the dust. a world-class sound system that soon began to attract established stars like General Echo and General Trees, who often came on as guest DJs. Its rise was phenomenal and unprecedented to say the least, quickly becoming an unbeatable crew at sound clashes and drawing the biggest crowds. It's also said that unlike other sound systems that often underpaid their DJs, everyone at Sturggab was getting paid good money, and by 1980 it began to provoke jealousy and bad blood in other crews. It was in 1980 that the problem started and would mount non-stop until the whole thing came crashing down. The year 1980 is on record as being one of the worst in the island's history as far as political violence and unrest is concerned. The island had experienced violence in the 1970s between the political parties called the PNP and the GLP, which had calmed down for a while at the very end of the decade. However, in the run-up to the elections in 1980, a new slugfest would arise between old rivals in Prime Minister Michael Manley of the PNP and Edward Tiaga of the GLP. The violence would flare up badly and even escalated beyond anything ever seen before in Jamaica, as political gangs began to wage war to defend their territory. Unfortunately, King Sturgav's headquarters fell in what was the GLP party's turf in West Kingston, and as a community-focused organization that wielded plenty of influence in the area, it began to attract attention from rival political thugs and operatives. The news filtered back to Uroy that his sound system was under threat. Being a non-political Rastafarian that wasn't aligned to any party, he did his best to maintain and project his neutrality, focusing entirely on cultural and spiritual themes in his music and interviews. But unfortunately, it didn't sway forces who were intent on shutting it down. The attacks began on a regular Saturday night dance when armed thugs stormed a venue that was full to the brim with people having a nice time on the dance floor. The attackers stormed the venue, firing guns in the air, and caused everyone to flee. But it didn't stop Uroy, mind you, and Sturggab dances would continue nonetheless. But over time, the storming of these dances would continue. It led to a huge drop in the very number of revelers attending those dances. A big shock, but nothing Uroy couldn't handle. But things got to a head when unknown persons raided Sturggab's storage rooms and smashed whatever equipment they could find. We're talking about expensive custom-built amplifiers, speakers, and most tellingly, Uroy's priceless and irreplaceable collection of dubplates and records collected over the years. Feeling defeated and totally demoralized, he threw in the towel and the mighty Sturggab fell silent. The targeting of the sound system was of course blamed on politics, but it's since been alleged that jealous rival sound system owners had taken advantage of all the unrest in the land to put an unbeatable competitor out of business. But despite this crushing blow, it definitely wasn't the end. As the political smoke and dust had settled by 1982, the great Uroy began to rebuild from scratch. He relaunched it with the name King Sturgav International. He recalled the magic fingers of Inspector Willie to become chief selector and also brought on board yet a new crop of superstars and future titans like Charlie Chaplin and Josie Wales. Not to mention an endless stream of guest appearances from the likes of Supercat, Nicodemus, Echo Minot, and even Yellowman, who then belonged to a different sound system. This resurrected Sturggab also in no time became a formidable opponent at sound clashes and became one of the most influential outfits and sound systems of the 80s. However, it had returned to stiff competition from new crews like Kilimanjaro and Jonjo Law's Volcano crew, but amazingly, it arguably influenced even the superstars of these crews, plus a cross-section of future stars that eventually ruled dancehall in the 90s, with the most popular of them being Shabba Ranks, that was a protege of Josie Wales, who himself was protege of Uroy. It endured as one of the all-time great sound systems and still operates till date, even after Uroy's passing in 2021. Though its seemingly inevitable rise to becoming the world's #1 sound system was derailed and sabotaged, it will always be remembered as being one of the most iconic and best sound systems in the history of the culture. So there you have it. Thank you for watching this video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, Jah bless.